There are a lot of ways that scholars help the church fulfill its mission. For one thing, scholars can help make the case for Christ more believable in a hostile environment. The average Christian doesn't have all day to sit around reading about the objections that are being made to Christianity and then work out the answers. So good scholars across all the disciplines should make that a priority, to help their fellow believers know how to make the case for Jesus and then present it in a winsome, good way without being combative or being defensive or running away from it. They can make the case. Sometimes I hear, well, all that matters is evangelism and church planting. Education, we really don't need that. And my response is, wait a minute. Education is important because evangelism is so important. Because ideas have consequences. Nobody is going to accept an idea that they think is unbelievable. So ideas have spiritual consequences. I mean, you think about the fall. The fall started with an idea. Satan says, here's an idea. Has God really said this? That's an idea. Question God's authority. So ideas have spiritual consequences. The other problem with saying all that matters is saving souls is my soul is kind of inextricably connected with my body and my mind. So my soul is not going to accept any idea that my mind repels. So if you come to me and say, you know what, McCarthy, the real answer to living is to have a yellow dove sitting on your head and then you eat 5 eggs without being cooked. And if you eat those 5 eggs without being cooked with the yellow dove sitting on your head, your life will be transformed. Well, you know, if you tell me that, I'm going to say, you're an idiot. You're crazy. I can't believe a solution like that. So the way scholars help the church is to make the gospel, which can seem incredible at first, to make a bridge so people can understand the gospel. And of course, even more simply, the scholars can help the church know how to develop a Christian worldview. Since Christ is the Lord of everything, we can help Christians in all kinds of jobs, all kinds of professions, understand what it means to serve Jesus with a biblical worldview. How do we make the gospel understandable to scientists, to truck drivers, to farmers, to golfers? How do we make the gospel understandable? And scholars should make that a priority, that we help ease the way of communication so we can make it easier for people to defend the faith. I had a professor at university who was a missionary. And every day, it was a history of philosophy class, and every day he would make some outrageous statement like, God isn't real, Jesus was not the Son of God, the Bible's not true. And every time he'd make it, he would make that statement, and then his eyes would go across the class and settle on me. Now, does anybody disagree with that? Now, the role of a scholar in the church is to help that young student understand how to respond. So about that time, I was going through a lot of questions. I knew Jesus lived in my heart. My parents were Christians. My grandparents were Christians. I knew Jesus was in my heart, but I needed evidence. How do I know the Bible is the Word of God? How do I know Jesus really rose from the dead? How do I know this is true, true, true? And of course, I began my study and I found that there's mountains of evidence, historic, philosophic evidence, literary evidence supporting the claims of Christ and the authority of the Bible. Now, fortunately, I wasn't in a church that said, don't you dare ask questions. I've often thought how my life might have been different had they squelched my questions. Rather, they said, those are important questions, Daryl. Find the answers. We can help you if you want. I found the answers, and so for years I've been lecturing at universities on the claims of Christ all across Europe and around the world. But I never could have done that had I swallowed those questions. So scholars can help give a robust faith to the person in the church.